All right, everyone. In this lesson, we will be completing Lesson 5 in Booklet 11. That is evaluating expressions. So, a couple of notes before we begin this lesson. The first of which is please remember the changes that we made when talking about multiplication. If I want to type something like 2 times 2, I'm no longer going to use an x to represent multiplication, right? The reason for that is because we don't want the x to be confused with the variable, right? This is a variable. This means multiplication, and using x for both is just confusing. So we're no longer going to use x for multiplication. Instead, if you would like to describe that you're multiplying two numbers, you are not going to do this. You can either write it as 2 times 2 like this, right? When two brackets are directly next to each other, that means that you're multiplying. Or if you would like, you can use a dot. Okay? On the same note, if I am multiplying a number by a variable, like right here 2x, I can do so just by writing the variable immediately next to the number. Okay? This implies that we are multiplying that variable by the number. So you have a couple of options on how to describe that you're multiplying two numbers, but using an x is no longer one of them. The second note that I would like to remind you of is that a variable, such as this variable x, represents a number, but we just don't know what that number is yet. Now, in this lesson, we're going to start off with a variable, and then later I'm going to tell you what number it should be. For example, here in example A, we have 2 times x, and I want you to evaluate, which means to solve, the following expression when x equals 2. So when I tell you that x equals 2, what I want you to do is replace everywhere you see x, which is just this one spot, replace it with the number 2. So instead of 2 times x, it's now 2 times 2. And 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Right? In the second example, I am again going to substitute in 2 for x. Now, I'm pretty much always going to put brackets around the number that I'm substituting in. Sometimes they make a difference, sometimes they don't. In this situation, they don't make a difference with or without the brackets. This is just 2 plus 4, which is equal to 6. In this last example, we have 10 divided by x is equal to 2. So that's 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Okay. In this next example, we're just going to make it a little bit more complicated. Here we have two potential variables. One is y, and if you see the variable y, replace it with -1 because y is equal to -1, as well as z, which is equal to 3. So if you see the variable z, replace it with 3. Now, question A doesn't have a z at all, so we don't need to worry about that. It is just 3 times y. Now, after substituting, that is 3 times -1, right? And 3 times -1, right? Remember how to do this. First of all, 3 times 1 is 3, and then one positive number, one negative number means that the product is negative. So 3 times -1 is -3. Okay? Here in example B, we have z minus y. Now, z is 3, so we put 3 in for z, and minus y, which is -1. Now here, the fact that I'm using brackets does make a difference, right? So this allows us to really see that when I have two negatives next to each other, that's going to make a positive. So make sure that you're always using brackets when you substitute. Like I said, sometimes it makes a difference, sometimes it doesn't, but better safe than sorry. So we're going to rewrite this as 3 plus 1, which is equal to 4. This last example is z divided by y. Now z is equal to 3 divided by y, which is equal to negative 1. And when dividing these two numbers, let's worry about the actual numbers first. So 3 divided by 1 is 3. And then 1 positive and 1 negative makes the result negative. That is negative 3. Okay, try these next examples on your own and then make sure that your answers match mine. Here we have two potential variables, a and b. Now, if you see a, that's equal to 5, and if you see b, that's equal to negative 2. Here in the first example, we don't have a, we just have b, so that is 4 divided by negative 2. Now, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 1 positive, 1 negative makes the result negative. So the answer is negative 2. In the second example, we have a plus b. We're going to substitute 5 for a plus, and then we're going to substitute in negative 2 for b. Now, this plus and minus make a minus, so I can rewrite this problem as 5 minus 2, and 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. In this last example, we have a times b, right? Remember, when two variables, or actually, I don't know if I've talked about this yet. When two variables are next to each other like this, it means multiplication, just like if a number was next to a variable. So this is a times b, and we want to make sure that that multiplication stays. So when I plug in 5 for a, and when I plug in negative 2 for b, this is one way to show multiplication. When those two brackets are right next to each other, it means that we're multiplying 5 by negative 2. Now 5 times 2 is 10, and a positive and a negative make a negative. And that's about it for that lesson, evaluating expressions. Take some time to complete the worksheet and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.